Write the constructor for the WordPair list class. The constructor takes an array of strings, words, okay, as a parameter and initializes the instance variable all pairs to an all pairs. Okay, there's a lot of information here. So you know what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to use my trick here. Before I even get into the weeds of this problem, right, I'm going to first go through. You should hopefully be able to see on the side here. Let's see if I can make this bigger because I don't want this to be so tiny that you can't see here. I'm giving myself 22 minutes. Okay. And let's see if I can zoom in. Zoom? Yes, it worked. Okay. WordPair list. Okay. And taking in as input string array words. Okay. Right. Okay. So I was going to use my trick and be like, okay, let me find out what the return value is and go ahead and create a variable for that. But, and this is part A. But I can't do that because constructors don't have a return value. So now I need to pay attention to what the constructor is asking, what I need to write for the constructor. So let's see if I can slide this back. Okay. So, right. A word pair object consists of a word from the array paired with a word that appears later on in the array. Okay. The all pairs list contains word pair objects, words I, words J for every I, J, where, okay, I is greater than or equal to 0, less than J, less than words dot length. Okay, there's a lot of information. This is my stream of consciousness, the thoughts that are going through my mind while I look through that. This is a lot for me to kind of digest, but I know I can just visually see that there's some examples that are coming down. So I'm just using this to kind of get a general idea of what the topic is, but I'm probably gonna have to reread this in a moment. It says each word pair object is added exactly once to the list. Okay, so no duplicates. Okay, the following examples illustrate two different word pair objects. Okay, so right. Okay, so it gives me this array that has these three words in it, 1, 2, and 3. And then it's going to give me an example of a word pair list called example 1. Okay, so it says after the code segment has executed, all pairs instance variable of example 1 will contain the following word pair objects in some order. 1 and 2. Okay, so 1 and 2 have been matched together. 1 and 3. And 2 and 3. Okay, so we've got to put them all together. And here's another example. Okay, I think I'm starting to get the idea. I got this array, and I know here it's giving me this string array of words. So I'm going to have to use words, right? And I'm going to go through and I'm going to create pairs using all of these. So the and more, and then the, and then the and merrier, and then more and the, and then more and merrier, and then the merrier. That's actually really funny. Okay. All right. So, okay. So I think I'm getting a sense of what this is supposed to do, right? I need to go ahead and create this constructor that is going to go ahead and initialize that all pairs list. So let me just move this over here a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. Okay. Right. So I have actually seen this problem before, because it is a programming challenge that we had to do in class. However, what I'm going to do is I am going to, I wouldn't intuitively, I would have a little bit of difficulty doing this if I hadn't seen this before, but I'm going to try to break down what my thought process would be if this were my first time seeing it. That sounds a little bit weird, but hopefully as I explain, this will make a little bit more sense, right? So I guess the pattern that I see here is that we look at the first word, right? Because we look at the first word in the list and then we match it with all the other words in the list, okay? And then we look at the next word in the list and we match it with all the other words in the list. And then we look at the next word in the list and we match it with all the other words in the list. So it seems like we're keeping track of two different things at the same time, right? We're keeping track of the first word in the pair, and then we're keeping track of we're keeping track of the first word in the pair, and then we're keeping track of the second word in the pair, which is going to change more frequently than the first word in the pair. Okay, so I can tell already that I'm going to have to use some sort of nested for loop here. Let's see if I can drag this out a little bit better. Okay, I'm going to try to stop switching back and forth here. All right, I'm going to need some sort of nested for loop. So I'm going to say something like for int I equals 0. So that makes sense that it would start off as 0 because the index of the first word in any list is always 0. And I'm going to keep going as long as I get into the end of the list. Okay, so I'm going to say like words.length without the parentheses, because for an array, length is a final instance variable. Okay, and I'm going to say I plus plus. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so right, I is going to keep track of my first word. So I'm going to go ahead and say string first word gets words I, right? So I'm going to reach into the array called words, and I'm going to grab the word at the current value of I. Good. Okay, so I got my first word. Good. Okay, now I need to grab my second word. So this is where my second for loop is going to come. And it's the header of this loop that's going to kind of give me some trouble, because I know that like somewhere in this loop, right, I know that in this loop, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to, I know that somewhere like within the body of this loop, I need to go ahead and use J to grab my second word. So I'll do like words and then J, right? Okay, but I need to figure out what exactly is J looping over, right? It makes sense that J starts off as some value, but I'm not really sure what it is right now, so I'm going to just put a question mark, right? And it makes sense that we're going to keep looping as long as J is less than words.length, right? It makes sense that we're going to keep looping as long as J is less than words.length, because it looks like when we basically, our second word that we're comparing the first word to, we're going to keep going until we get to the end of the list. So like with both of them, we're going to keep going until we get to the end of the list. It seems like we're increasing by 1 each time. First, it was the and more that were matched together. Then it was the and the. And then it was the and barrier, right? And so once we got to the end of the list, then it seemed like we moved on to the next word here. And we matched more and then we matched more and merrier, and then we moved on to the next word in the list, and we matched the and merrier, and then we were done with the list because, merrier is, it doesn't really make sense to match merrier and merrier. Okay, so actually that makes me think that maybe since we didn't match merrier, and the was like the first, the was like the last first word in the list, I feel like I should actually do this. I should say words.length minus 1. Again, this is just me going based off of the pattern that I see. And then J seems like it's the value of, J seems like it's the value, it starts off as the value of I plus 1. So, right, when the first word started at index 0, the second word started at index 1. When the first word started at index 1, the second word started at index 2. So, okay, so that is my like key that, okay, J needs to start off as I plus 1. Okay, I think I've got the idea, right? So I'm grabbing my first word, I'm grabbing my second word, and now what I need to do is I need to go through and I need to create a WordPair object. Wait, is that what I need to do? Wait, is that what I need to do? I think I'm thinking of the programming challenge and not actually thinking about what this is actually asking me to do. So here, right. So, wait, so let's see. But what does a WordPair, I'm trying to figure out, like basically, do I like take this first word and put this as an instance variable and take the second word and put it as an instance variable? Right. Yeah, okay, got it. Okay. I am writing the constructor. I got confused and I thought I was making the constructor for WordPair. I'm not making the constructor for WordPair. I'm making the constructor for WordPair list, right? So yes, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new WordPair object. I'm going to call this WordPair WP. And I can see that the WordPair constructor has a first word and a second word. So I'm going to take my first word Well, it has a first parameter and a second parameter, and first represents the first word, and second represents the second word. So I'm going to go ahead and use the first word that I created to create a WordPair object, and the second word that I created to create a WordPair object. Now, I wrote this code, but I put it in the wrong spot, because basically every single time my inner loop loops, or my inner loop iterates, then I need to create a new WordPair object. So great, so I created my new WordPair object. I stored it in, right, I created my new WordPair object, right? I took the first word and second word, used that to create my object, and now I need to add WordPair to some sort of a list. And it looks like the allPairs class has an instance variable called allPairs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say allPairs.add WP. Woo! I think that's it. I don't think I need to return anything, but let me make sure I closed all my brackets. Okay, I closed my inner for loop, didn't close my outer for loop, and now, okay, yeah. Now I've got my outer loop closed, and now I've got my method done. Okay, good. Okay, so now, let's see how much time I've got. I've got 12 minutes left, and my goal now is to go through and see if I can write the second method. Let me see. So it tells me about part A. That seems like it's okay. That seems good. Wait. I don't know if I need to do words.length -1. No. Okay. I think I can keep it like this because when we were matching the with all the rest of the words, we went, like, the was matched up with all the remaining words in the list. Like, it was the and more, and then the and the, and then the and merrier. Sorry, I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it's pretty funny. Okay, alright, so now I'm going to do the next one here. I'm going to do part B. I may need to come back to this because I don't know if I maybe haven't thought carefully about this loop traversal, and I know that I get 1 point for making sure that my loop is... I usually get a point for making sure that my loop iterates through all the values it's supposed to, and so that could be a point on the line, but also part B probably has a good, like, 4 to 5 points that are there for me, so I'm going to have to just skip it for right now and try to see if I can come back to it at the end. Alright, so it says, write the WordPair list num matches. Aha, okay, maybe I can do my trick here, okay? So for num matches, right, oh, there was my bracket all the time, I just missed it. Okay, for num matches, right, I am going to, okay, I'm going to copy down this header, and I'm here now, I can use my trick, right? I see that the return value is int, so I'm going to say int result gets 0. Maybe later on I'm going to realize that it doesn't really make sense to make that result start off as 0, but for now I'm going to do this just to make sure that I don't forget that the whole point of num matches, the whole point of this method is to make sure that at the end I return or I give back an integer. And the question is, what does that integer represent, and how do I get that integer, okay? So let's find out. So write the WordPair list method num matches that returns the number of WordPair objects. Sorry, you need to read that like that. Let me make that bigger. It returns the number of WordPair objects in all pairs for which the two strings match. All right, so it gives us example. We've got some more words, the red fox and the red, okay? And then we've got this WordPair list that apparently, after we execute the code, this is what allPairs is going to have in it. It's going to have this word pair, the and red, and then the and fox, and then the and the, wait, yeah, because the and the got matched together, and then it's going to match the and red. Then it's going to move on to this next word, and this is going to become our first word. Red and fox get matched together. Red and the get matched together. Red and red. And ha! I notice here, okay, I'm seeing the pattern here. These two values are the same. These two values are the same. The first word and the second word are the same. So we have a match. Aha! Okay, so we're returning really the number of WordPair objects that have the first word that's the same and the second word that's the same. Okay, I think I got it. Good. So now what I need to do is I need to loop through all pairs, right? And here I believe I can use a for each loop because I believe I can use a for each loop because why can't I use a for each loop? Because I don't need to modify the array list. I just need to grab values from the objects in the array list, right? So now I've got WP, that's representing my word pair, right? And so what I can do is I can grab string first, the first one, by saying wp.getFirst. I can't just say wp.first because we know that our instance variables are always private, yes, at least for the AP exam. And when you become a software engineer, one day, if that's what you want to be, you will learn that you can make them not private, but that's a poor choice. There's also another word called protected, but again, that's for in the future. You decide to become a software engineer. Right, and so some of you might be listening and saying this, nope. But that's okay, no problem. The point is that you get all the information that you need in order to be successful on the AP exam, and also have a really good handle of what algorithms in computer science look like and how to teach a computer to do the work for you, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to check to see if the first word and the second word are the same. So we're going to say if first equals second, then we can go ahead and we can increase our results. See, this is the joy. Thank God. This is the joy of having this variable up at the top, because it's like, wait, I'm supposed to change something, change some value, and then it's like, wait, I have this variable up the top, and it gives you some ideas about what is supposed to be changing, right? So now I need to go ahead and increase my result if the first is the same as the second, and then I'm going to return my result. Okay, that actually seems way too easy, but I will say that this first one, that one was hard, because trying to decide when you need to be like j equals I plus 1, that can be tricky. So I guess this was meant to be maybe the hard one, and this is probably worth like a good 6 points. I wouldn't be surprised if this is worth 6 points, and this is worth 3 points, but I definitely think that this is worth more points. This is worth less points than this one up at the top. So part B, less points, part A, more points, okay? So it looks like this is good. I returned the right value. I went through each of the word pair objects. Usually get a point for making sure that I loop through all the values in the collection, whether that's an array or the characters in a string or an array list, right? For each loop is great because it's not going to give me any bounds errors here. I'm using the getFirst method, and I know that that's a method that I can use because here I can see here it's right here. It's right here in the method, right? Word pair class. This is the word pair object, so I can use the getFirst method, right? And then getSecond, I can use that method as well. GetSecond, call that method, and it'll grab the second word in the word pair list. It'll grab the second word from the word pair object, okay? And then I'm just checking, is that one the same, right? Remember, these are strings, right? So I can only use string methods, right? Equals is used to compare two strings, so I say the string object dot equals, and then the one that I'm comparing it to, the string object that I'm comparing it to. You can also use dot equals with other objects as well. It works the same way, except instead of two strings, you'd have, like, I don't know, two car objects or two people objects. Doesn't matter really, as long as they're objects. And I increased the result, and I returned it. Okay, it's looking pretty good. This is really, the one that I probably need to come back to. And technically, on the exam, I would have about, like, 3 more minutes, right? So I'm going back, I'm checking my work. And so this would be a good idea for me to go ahead and start creating some sort of, like, tracing table to make sure that my program works as it's supposed to work, right? So what I would do here is, let's see if I can do this. Okay, so I remember, right, what I would do here is if I had enough time, I would go through and I would trace my code to make sure that it works, right? So here, I do need some sort of I need some sort of tracing table here, but essentially, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to do that here. But essentially what would happen is, I would trace through my code and make sure that it would produce the same values that are available here in the example, right? So here at index 0, my first word would become the, and at index I plus 1, which would be 1, my second word would become more, and my word pair would become the and more. And then my first word here would end up becoming, my first word would still be the, and then my second word would end up being J, which has increased by 1 now, so now J would be referring to index 2, and the is at index 2, so my word pair would become the. And then here, my J would increase again, and it would still be less than words.length, so then my second word would now point to merrier. My word would become the merrier, okay? And then last but not least, is there anything else? And that would be it. Then our J value would be too big, so that means that this inner loop would be done, and now this, there we go, this value would change here, and the would become more, and then we'd compare more and the value next to it, which is the, and so our word would become more the. Okay, we'd keep going. So hopefully you can see like how I'm kind of tracing through my code to make sure that it works as I go through. One thing that I do want to check is like that very last word here, right? So let's say we're at index 3. No, yeah, at index. Yeah, let's say we're at index 2, right? And now we're comparing the, and we're going to compare it with merrier, so it would end up being the and merrier is at index 3, right? So when we do 3 plus 1, we get 4, and the length of this array list is 4, so that means that this whole statement now, this Boolean expression would now evaluate to be false, this for loop would be finished, and now this outer for loop would also be finished. I would increase, and now this expression is no longer true. It becomes false. So that means that this for loop, it is done, it is over with, and now we can just go ahead and finish here, okay? So again, that's the process for how you can test your work as you go through, making sure that you are confident in your answers, and that you, if you have enough time, which I don't always have enough time to go check your work as you go through. That's it.